Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how much a cybersecurity breach would actually cost your business, how to kind of look at those numbers and calculate that, and also where to get a quick, really easy to use calculator. So, that we don't delay any further or take up much more of your time, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Peter. Peter's going to be hosting this webinar today and talking to you about that information. So, Peter, glad you're here. Can't wait to see all the information you're gathering, so I'm going to let you take over and have fun.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you, TJ, and thank you all for being here today to see this webinar. So without further ado, we will begin. What is my financial cybersecurity risk factor? So we all hear the headlines in the news, Change Healthcare, T-Mobile, and so many others. Every week, it seems like there's a new attack, a new breach, or another wild statistic. You see their ransomware payments hit $1.1 billion record in 2023. And usually when we see these headlines, we just scroll by, but sometimes we might think, what does this have to do with me, with my business? How do I fit into all of this? Well, today that's what we're here to talk about. Our goal is to provide you all with real data and tools to help you calculate the financial risks that cyber attacks pose to your business. A lot of research has gone into this presentation. Here are just a few of the many resources that are informing the data and information that I will share with you today. We will also be creating a landing page on our website where you can see all of these resources listed. And on that page, you'll also be able to find a free calculator where you can put in a little bit of your information and it will estimate your risk for you if you don't have time to do the math yourself. So I want to provide everyone with a few of the most important statistics relevant to us as small business owners. So different reports found different numbers, but it's pretty consistent that 2023, 61% to 72% of small businesses were successfully hacked. So I just want us all to pause there. That's a big number. And in the cyber industry, we have seen this increase substantially since AI has been introduced onto the market. Approximately 40% of those small businesses that were hacked suffered a financial loss greater than $250,000. And 31% of small businesses hit by ransomware immediately went out of business. They couldn't even afford to recover. And approximately 60% of all small businesses that were successfully hacked went out of business within 6 months. So this is a big deal. Many of us think that we are not at risk, that, oh, it's just out there, it's the big companies, they're the targets. But it turns out the majority of cyber attacks are actually done to small businesses. And as you can see from these statistics, the risk is great. Now, what even is financial risk? Well, it's pretty easy to calculate on paper, but difficult to calculate in reality. You simply take the likelihood of an event occurring and multiply it by the cost that you would have to pay in that event. So you may be able to see the difficulty here in our situation. There are multiple different types of attacks and different costs for each one. So to simplify our problem, I have broken down successful cyber attacks into 3 different categories. I'm calling them a minor attack, a major attack, and an existential attack. These categories are not necessarily in the data that I researched explicitly, but they are simply groupings of different data that I discovered. Here is the associated risk of each category of attack happening in the event of a successful breach. So this does not mean that you have a 47% chance of having a minor attack. This means that if you are hacked, there's a 47% chance that it's a minor attack. Some of you may notice that these percentages only add up to 85%, and that's because about 15% of successful cyber attacks do not cause an additional financial burden. And since this presentation is on our financial risk, it's not going to have an effect on our calculation. So now that we have these categories, let's go ahead and look at a breakdown in costs for each of them. So a minor attack is a fairly broad category that encompasses generally attacks that cause a financial burden and either has a small contained security breach or no breach at all. So you can think of maybe one of your third parties were hacked and they got you to accidentally wire some hackers a payment instead of the third party that you were intending to. That would not necessarily institute a security breach, but those do pose a financial risk to you and your business. So you can see here, based on the different events, you may have around these costs and these ranges for a minor attack. A major attack is categorized as an attack that compromises a system that is critical to your business function, but it does not require public disclosure that you were compromised. You can see here that the numbers and the different types of costs associated with the attack go up a lot. Most people consider a cyber attack to just be, oh, maybe I wired money to the wrong person, or oh, maybe I need to pay my IT guys to fix it. But you can see here in a major attack, it involves multiple different categories that most people don't consider, such as forensic investigation, legal consultations, or regulatory compliance and fines. For many businesses, they have to follow different government regulations, and in the event of a security incident, if you are audited and it is determined that you are not compliant with the regulations of your business, you may be fined in addition to the cost you have to pay for the cyber attack. Our final category is an existential attack, and this is an attack that is absolutely major and requires public disclosure that you are attacked. So this adds the additional factor of defending against potential lawsuits that people may levy against your company. And most states require you to provide credit monitoring services for free to all of the people who are involved in the breach. It also has some indirect costs that most people do not consider. If you are hit with ransomware, it has on average 22 days of downtime. So this is about 6% of the year. If your business is 100% dependent on your computer systems, it could be 6% of your annual revenue, or 6% of your ability to work in a year is just gone. Additionally, about 81% of customers will stop purchasing things from your business for 90 days after you disclose that you've been hacked. And 25% of your total customers will just leave forever. They won't come back after 90 days. There's an additional long-term reputational damage that is unknown, but it can really be substantial. You may have to engage with third-party security firms from your vendors or other clients. And then even after all of that, you still have to pay to enhance your cybersecurity systems to prevent this attack from happening again. With these numbers, you can see all in total, there's I'm putting a roughly 47% chance that you would have a minor attack, and it could cost you between $16,000 and $215,000. A 26% chance that if you're hacked, it's a major attack, and that's between $82,000 or $492,000. And then a 12% chance that you have an existential attack, and that could be 1.5 million plus 30% of your annual revenue could be lost from customer attrition. Once you look at these numbers in perspective, the 60% of businesses who were no longer in business 6 months after being hacked starts to make a lot more sense. So with all of this in mind, we can put it together to get our formula. So this is the mathy part of the presentation, and hopefully it won't be too long. So you take the minor attack cost, you multiply it by the percentage, the major attack, and the existential attack. And then you're going to multiply that whole value by the likelihood that you are going to be attacked in general. So let's look at some examples. If you're a business with $2.5 million in annual revenue, let's say your annual risk, we're going to use the lower portion on those calculations. So your minor attack is going to be 16,000, your major is going to be 82,000, and your existential attack is going to be 107,000 plus 30% of 2.5 million. And then with the medium-sized business and the larger business, I used different numbers within the range that I laid out before. So if we go through here and we do the math, it turns out that the business risk for a $2.5 million in annual revenue company is close to $80,000. For a $7.5 million annual revenue company, it's close to $305,000. And for a $12.5 million company, it's 518. So in other words, if you were to break that out into a monthly cost, that you can see those numbers there. This is the mathematical value that you would need to set aside to cover the risk that your business has. So now you're probably thinking, how do I lower my risk? As many of you are looking at these numbers and thinking, man, I do not have $1 million laying around. I can just save up in case I get hacked. So it turns out that it is substantially cheaper to lower your risk than it is to save up in the event that you are hacked. So there are two ways that you can lower your risk. You can decrease the general likelihood of being attacked, or you can decrease the likelihood of facing major or existential cyber attack. I will give you an example of a way to decrease the general likelihood of you being attacked. So the ITRC reported that 30% of security breaches in 2023 were from a malicious insider. A malicious insider is defined as somebody who has access to your information that they're supposed to have access to. So this may be shocking, but there's a substantial number of breaches that are caused by employees who are disgruntled at their managers, Maybe something went wrong at the business. Maybe they were let go and they're upset and they caused something on their way out. So this poses the question, what access do your employees have? And if you have to fire an employee, what procedures does your company have in place to prevent them from compromising you on the way out? This, along with many, many other things, are ways that you can lower your overall risk. So you may be wondering, how much should I pay to lower my risk? So the risk factor varies between business, but it roughly sits about 3 to 5% of your annual revenue. And therefore, we can say that a good amount to budget for cybersecurity is 1 to 3% of your annual revenue. That will change based off of your industry and your size. And this is just for cybersecurity. Most businesses, I think the national average is that businesses spend between 8 and 12% of their total revenue on IT. That includes hardware and software and support and cybersecurity. This calculation and this budget item is just for cybersecurity. If you want more, you can contact us by emailing at help@techeagles.com. You can give us a call, 423-534-3418 or 850-588-3540, or you can find us on our website at techeagles.com. Any questions, or that will conclude our presentation.